Episode number 7. I got to tell you, I'm thrilled about this one because it's not only about the financial wealth we can collect, but the mental health and the mental wealth that we're going to get. So, we're going to be diving into this topic because it's so important to have your head set straight and to make sure you're doing things for all of the right reasons. And, the universe really does a nice way of attracting what you put out there. So, let's make sure that our heads are sharp and that our hearts are in the right place and that we're ready to really grow that wealth in all areas of our life. So today we're thrilled to welcome Benjamin Blackett, a transformational coach, retreat leader, and founder of A Creative Healing Place. Benjamin is a 2-time international best-selling author and a certified life mastery consultant who has shared the stage with luminaries like Mary Morrissey and Jack Canfield. His mission is bold, and it's to help over 1 million people live empowered, purpose-driven lives by 2033. That is quite the mission. We're going to find out how he plans to do that. But through his signature programs, including Transcend Dance, movement classes, immersive retreats in the south of France, and heart-centered coaching, Benjamin guides clients to shift from circumstance-driven living to vision-driven success. Whether you're a high-achieving professional feeling stuck or someone seeking deeper fulfillment, Benjamin's approach blends spiritual principles, somatic movement. I don't even know what that is. We're going to find out. Somatic movement and actionable tools to help you unlock the life you would love to live. So, without further ado, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Emilio. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I'm thrilled to be with you.
You're welcome. I'm glad to have you, Benjamin. So, it's fascinating what you do. And, all too often, people think that success really is just a measurement of money. And when you look at the most successful people in the world, it's not just that, it's purpose-driven life. And that's something that you can guide us in and really take out your notebooks, grab a pen, because, Benjamin has a lot of really wonderful things to share with us.
Well, thank you for that. And it's true. I like to say right off that, when it comes to wealth, people think, well, I want more money, more money. But the truth is that nobody wants to live in a stack of bills. Like, what are we going to do living in a stack of bills? It's not beneficial at all, but we want the money for something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I like to call full spectrum living. And so we want to have wealth in our health and well-being. We want to have health and wealth in our relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to have wealth in our vocation or creative expression. If you're somebody who's not working or whatever, for whatever reason, there's still creative expression you want to offer to the world. And then time and money freedom. And when I work with people, a lot of people come to me, well, it's all about time and money freedom. Well, they're all interrelated too.
Sure is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you've got a goal, a very big goal of empowering 1 million people by 2033. What inspired this mission, and how do you plan to achieve that? Like how do you plan to measure that kind of an impact?
First of all, I have been certified by Brave Thinking Institute, and their mission is to have 1 billion dreams achieved by 2033.
Wow.
1 billion. And so I'm saying 1 million to be part of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know all the ways that that's going to happen, is the truth of the matter. But what I know is that we have to start with focusing on where we are and where we'd like to get to. So I know that's where I'd like to get to, and I hold that vision that that's where I'm going to be. So my business continues expanding, growing, and I start impacting more and more people. It's one at a time, but it's also 1 million dreams achieved. There are micro dreams, there are massive dreams, and everything in between. And so I help with that. Brave Thinking Institute came up with this brilliant idea that they send out Dream Achieved towels to people.
Yeah.
So that when they've got a dream achieved, they can hold up and say, I'm here, I've done that. And I've held up my towel for several dreams achieved since they've sent that to me.
Nice. Beautiful. I love what you said when I said, how do you plan on doing that? And you said, I don't know, and it's not that you don't have a plan. It's that you trust in the process and trust that God, the universe, that it's going to come to you by doing the right thing and taking actionable steps every single day to get there. Right.
Hmm.
And I've seen it in you. I
Hmm.
mean, already, like you've done a seminar for us. We had 20 or so people at that seminar. You're now on this podcast. So I love it because I get to take a little bit of a part in that. And if this
Hmm.
video that we're doing here hits 20, 30,000 people, well, perfect. There you go. That's 20 or 30K, 30,000 more people that you can hit, and it could go towards your million goal, right? Many people, Benjamin, they feel stuck, okay? And they feel they're stuck in their successful careers, but they're very unfulfilled in life, okay? I personally have been there too. What do we do? How do we help them to find and connect with a deeper purpose?
So the thing that I work with most is vision driven living.
Hmm.
And so what that means is that, a lot of us are living our lives. We're taking a look at what's going on around us and we're looking at our circumstances, situations, and conditions. And we're saying that's what's directing our life. And we think we have to live life by what those conditions are, whether it's the car broke down, so I have this condition, that's directing my life. I have a sick relative, that's directing my life. I have a health issue, that's directing my life. But the truth is that when we get a vision and we focus on what it is we would love to do, then we have the ability to move towards that. And there's a way of organizing ourselves around that, because it's not just having a vision, it's actually taking the vision into our beingness, if you will, and putting on the feeling of being the person doing that. And that guides us and helps move us forward to where we would love to go.
I find, that a lot of people will they'll make it their identity. Whatever it is that they're going through, they're going to make their identity and kind of hold on to that as their identity. So let's say if somebody is going through a divorce, or somebody is like angry, or somebody is depressed, or somebody has anxiety, they're kind of holding on to that and it becomes their identity.
Hmm.
And that's, I think, where they feel stuck. And actually, I go to Awakening Church in Smithfield, Rhode Island. It's fantastic. You can follow them on YouTube. They're great. And Pastor Jordan got out last week on Mother's Day, and he was saying, hey, you know what? People kind of get stuck in being their problem. So like they actually
Hmm.
take their identity, right? And it might be anxiety, right? And he's
Hmm.
like, and I could never say this as well as he did, but he said, look, they have this, they're carrying it around like a dog. Right. And
Hmm.
they have like the TSA jacket on it. He said, and they're walking around. He's like, this is my anxiety. This is my
Hmm.
depression, and they're treating it like it's this like fluffy thing that it's okay to be carrying around and identify with, when realistically other people are like, wow, that doesn't look furry. That looks spiky.
Yeah.
It looks like that
Yeah.
looks like dangerous. Can you break down like how you've coached somebody? Let's talk about anxiety. Like how have you coached somebody through that?
When you think of that is what you're saying, because that's actually perfect exemplification of what I'm saying. When people are looking to circumstances, conditions, and
Mhm.
situations, they say, this is my thing, and they get attached to it. And so I start with the questions. Well, the one question that's the most powerful question that there is in the world, it's the most expansive question there is, which is, what would you love? What would you love? I mean, do you love that anxiety, or would you love something different? And usually I'd love something different. We get to the idea of what the different is first, and actually specifically for anxiety, because it's also very two different things. When you've got somebody going through divorce, yeah, that's a situation, and they
Mm.
can get attached to the divorce and such. And like, so, well, if you're going through this divorce and you don't love it, and you've got, certainly that often brings up pain and stress in and of itself.
Sure.
But what's the vision of what you would love? Like, what you're going through this now, but there's something, and a lot of people is just, let me get out of, and they don't remember that we've got to get to something that they want to get to. In that situation, it's slightly different than the anxiety, because when there's anxiety, like, I work directly with a movement modality, which you referred to at the top of the show for me, which is transcendence.
Mhm.
And as far as that goes, I have people come, and when we go through the transcendence process, it's a 10-stage dance process, which is, and this is the first time you have been talking about this with me, because I didn't even mention it to you before.
No, no.
But it's like taking the mindfulness of yoga up off the floor and turning it into fun, free form movement.
Mm.
And it allows people to go from anxiety to freedom. It allows them to go from inflexibility to flexibility. It allows them to take stress and turn it into breathability, if you will. It is about getting more expansive. And the reason that that's such, and specifically if you're asking about anxiety, the reason that transcendence is so powerful is because what happens for most of us is that our issues get stuck in our tissues.
Oh, I like that.
Our issues get stuck in our tissues, and moved energy moves energy. And what happens is that when we get these issues stuck in our tissues, most of us don't even know it. In the ability to move, have an opportunity to move, we get to discover things that we wouldn't have ever known if we didn't move. I mean, and for an example of that, in my own training to do this, I had never intended to turn into a transcendence facilitator. That was not on my horizons 4 years ago, which is when I got certified to be a facilitator. I went to the woman who created it, Jennifer Jimenez, the modality, and I was like, well, what do? I want to put energizers into my workshop, and I feel like I don't know how to dance. I was like, actually, I think I said to her, literally, I can barely find my way to a bead out of a brown paper bag.
Yeah.
And she said, well, come do this facilitation training with me so that you can get a better relationship with your body. And through the process of going through that, I discovered that I had body shame that I didn't even know I had, that I'd been carrying my whole life. And of course, many people think, well, women carry body shame, but hardly anybody thinks men, they don't carry body shame. And so why would I think I had it? Because we don't think that in our society.
Sure.
Right? But it healed that totally. It's kind of one way. So if we look then again at a different, like, how's it work in the long run for somebody doing a divorce situation?
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you about a client who I had come to me who was questioning whether she wanted a divorce. She was actually somebody who was in love with the work she was doing. She had young kids. She had been running her own business for 4 years, and she had left to a business that was based on the business that she was running because she didn't love the way it was running at all. She's a physical therapist. She's like, I've got a better way to help heal people completely. Get to the source, get to the core, and help them understand what's going on underneath, which she's very good at, by the way, I have to say. And she was like, came to me and she's like, I'm just not feeling very good about what's going on in my life. I don't want to show up in my business. I'm feeling on the rocks with my relationship.
Depression,
And I'm like not feeling like I'm the mom I want to be, and I don't understand. My business is losing money, and so we got to work on getting the vision, focusing on that, and then through working with her, within 2 months, she had doubled the business that she had been doing at the time when she came to see me, and ended up with a 30% business increase.
It's huge.
Over a year's time, yeah. But one of the things that I love most about working with this woman is that she comes to me on a regular basis now and says, I am so in love with my husband, and I love our relationship and how powerful
beautiful.
it is. So it's not always about the divorce, it's who are we being inside of it.
It brings me to my next point too, as business people, as entrepreneurs, as salespeople, as people that are out there looking to live a fulfilled life. There's a lot that happens during that journey, okay? And we are constantly getting beat up, right? Like if you're listening to this and you started a business or you're running a business, you are in charge of so much, not only at work or in your business, but all of your relationships, your home relationship, your home life is huge, your friends, your extended family, your community. I mean, there's just so much that we do as people every day, never mind when you're in charge of running companies. And you kind of sometimes feel like it's like a thankless job, right? Like you're constantly getting punched in the gut, kicked in the nuts. Like it's nonstop. Okay. What do you tell to people? Like, let me give you an example. Okay. One of my good friends, he runs a big company, and I'm not going to say what kind of company or who it is or whatever. And today I reached out to this person and I asked for something. I was really last minute on this, right? Like I needed something for a closing today. And I was like, I really need this today. And he kind of like lashed out at me, and it's not him, right? But I could legit tell that this person just had enough. He was just fed up with people, just fed up with everything, like, right? So if you feel like that you are at the end of your ropes and you're just like you feeling angry, feeling like I can't deal with people anymore, I can't get through this anymore, right? Like, what do you suggest? Like, is there an exercise? Is there something that people can do to kind of take a breather, take a step back, look at this thing from 10,000 feet and readjust?
So that's another great question. And the one thing that I always recommend for people is really step back and take a breath, do just that. And that
Mm,
sounds simplistic and it sounds like benign and like, what's that really going to do? But the truth is most of us forget that. Most
mhm.
of us don't even think about that as an option. And so,
It's true. The Navy SEALs do it, the 4-second breath.
well, and
Do you
so
know
for me,
that?
it's I don't know, but I'll tell you what I do know is that
Yeah.
if you just take some time focusing on your breath, if we do attention on 3 breaths, do this with me. In through the nose.
Oh, right, not me?
Yep. Blowing out through the mouth like you're blowing through a straw. In through the nose. Blow out through the mouth like blowing through a straw. One more time, in through the nose. And blowing out through your mouth. Now tell me something, and just attention to those first 3 breaths, just like that. Do you feel more at ease? Do you feel more calm? Do
Mhm.
you feel more relaxed?
I do.
This is a quick meditation anybody can use anytime to get into a calmer state of being, into a calmer
Hmm.
and easier state of mind. What happens when we're doing this is scientific.
I gotta do that more often.
I know it's some magic.
Try it at home. Try it. If you're in your
Try
car
it,
at
yeah.
home in the middle of your workplace, you're walking around.
Absolutely. And yes, absolutely. It's a quick and easy. I mean, I work with all my clients with this. I don't ever not use this
Yeah.
because when we do that, we're dropping into our parasympathetic nervous system because it's impossible to be in the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight, flight, or freeze when you're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. If you're breathing in and out through the mouth, you can get that hyperventilation. Same thing
Yeah.
with the breathing in and out through the nose. You can, it can be that. So it's not necessarily that you'll drop in and out of the
Wow.
parasympathetic nervous system, but circular breathing like that, where you're focusing. I felt it with you just now. I mean, and I'm glad to hear you did too.
Yes.
It's testimony that it's a quick, easy. And the other thing is, it's the idea that they're the things, like they're the important things. And the truth is that we're all spiritual beings having human experience.
Mm.
This is temporary. This body, it's temporary. We're spirit. And all the stuff,
Yeah.
all the
believe that.
stuff we've created to begin with anyhow. And we forget that we're the creators. And when we're not aware of the difference between the vision-driven and circumstance-driven life, we're letting those circumstances run us. And we don't know that we have a choice.
Mm.
So stopping and pausing to come in touch with the breath at least gives us the opportunity to say, well, you know what? It's just a thing anyhow.
When you say we're the creators, what do you mean? The creators of our own like destiny, our own like, vision, our own, wherever we're taking this? Is that what you mean? Wherever we're taking our lives?
Yes. And so if you think about it this way, Neville Goddard talks about, actually, I work with many spiritual authors who have heavily influenced and impacted my teaching.
Mhm.
But the thing is that at the base and underneath all of them is that we are created in the image and likeness of Creator,
Mhm.
which means that we are
right.
Creator, right? So if we are Creator, we are creating everything in our lives.
Sure.
And again, some of us, most of us, not even knowing that we're doing that, not even knowing that we're doing it. But
Yeah.
there, when you get into the work that I do, you start beginning to understand that you actually are, and you get to begin to take control of what is actually happening in your life. And that doesn't mean that life stuff doesn't happen, but your relationship to it changes because you get an understanding of like, oh, for instance, that person who just cut me off in traffic. They cut me off in traffic. Well, you could have a whole flip out reaction, and most people do,
It's
right?
my day.
It's my day. I'm like, up go these explanations, let's say, explications, and we don't always feel good about them, but we do it.
Yeah.
Or we could have well, what if that person is like really sick and they really
right.
need to get to, like, we could have compassion and say,
Yeah.
and bless them instead.
Yeah.
So our reaction to it is different. And then that stress that comes out sideways that you just experienced
Hmm.
doesn't happen as much because we're like, this is what I can control. That's what I can't control.
And I think that there's somebody that's listening to this podcast right now that is having trouble with juggling everything and dealing with all of the fear, the uncertainty, the doubt, the rejection. Okay. I mean, it really takes thick skin and it takes a strong person to be running a business or to be in sales or to be in any kind of area in life where you're being creative and excelling. You're putting yourself, you're exposing yourself, you are out right in the front and probably the only person, maybe in your immediate circle or circles or even online or wherever, that might be doing what you're doing. So fear often holds people back, Benjamin, and it holds them back from pursuing great things and trying great things and pursuing their dreams. What strategies do you teach to help individuals break through, to break through those barriers, the fake barriers, to get through that fear?
So the truth is, what you're saying is that many people have fear run their lives, and it's true they
That's right.
do,
Yeah.
and they don't have to. And part of the thing that happens for many of us, I know before I found the work that I'm doing, for me, I got to a point where I had fear, but I thought I was bad. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought it was defective. Like, what's wrong with me? How can I
Wow.
have fear? Because the religion that I grew up with was saying that it was bad. And then spiritual circles, once I left that religion and I was starting to hear, I'm like, there must be something wrong because you have to have faith, not fear. And when I was taking that in, it was telling me that there was something defective in me for having fear. But the truth is that we all have fear,
Mm.
and fear is going to be a player in our lives no matter what. So the question is, how are we going to interact with that fear?
Mhm.
And so I teach people how to do that. And the first thing is to recognize that it's there. Because if we don't recognize it's there, we can't change it. We
Mhm.
don't have a way of changing it if we
Mhm.
if we can't see it, if we can't recognize it's there. Again, coming to the breath, like what's going on? How am I feeling in this moment?
Mhm.
There's this fear. What's the fear about? The fear about maybe for the solopreneur, the entrepreneur, how am I going to get this client?
Mhm.
Be really attached to this client, to this client, this client. And the truth is that if it's not this client, there's another client.
Mhm.
And there's somebody else who's waiting who's going to be more ready to receive what it is that is being offered anyhow. It's being able to let go of the results, have a vision of where you'd like to go. You've got a goal of what you want to have for sales. You have a goal of the thing you're selling, and you want to sell it, of course, but you let go of that it has to happen in a very certain specific way.
Yeah.
And yeah, you may have fear around meeting with people or doing the knocks on the door, making the calls. I get it because it happens for me. I have fear of making the calls. It happens.
Yeah.
And it's fear, but do I want what's on the other side? What's on the other side, which I don't even know what that is most of the time. I make calls and who knows what's going to
Yeah.
happen.
And who knows who they'll connect you with? I mean, look how we connected, right? And
Yeah.
it just expands and expands. It's the spider web effect. I call it a spider web because it just keeps branching out and out and out and out from this one thing. And when you were just talking, you were talking pretty much about the scarcity mindset. And I see the difference between successful entrepreneurs and successful business owners, successful salespeople, successful developers, anybody, and unsuccessful is their mindset, Benjamin. And I find that people that are so concerned about where am I going to get my next paycheck? Where am I going to get this? Where am I going to get that? How is this going to happen? They are so focused on the negatives that they're not allowing the positives to come into their life. And the folks that succeed, they have that abundance mindset and they're attracting it to them. And it's kind of like the situation where, and you can equate this to anything, right? Like where, you're doing really well on, let's say, sales calls. When you're doing really well and you have a day where you're banging out a ton of calls, when you're making closings, keep it rolling, keep it going because there's something in you during that day that is attracting that. And there's something that you're projecting, and that confidence is very hard to replicate. So you got to keep rolling with that. And I remember I had a sales manager back in the day. I used to sell toilet paper and urinal cakes door to door.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so unappealing, right? But I didn't care. I was 23, 24 years old, making great money and learning the craft of sales. And you can start anywhere, right? So I was doing this door to door to door to door, and I was having some bad days. But then I also had some good days. And the sales manager, and his name was Jim, and he said to me, Emilio, on those good days, like they're going to happen, right? You need to keep making those calls. If everyone else is hanging up the phone at 5 p.m., you need to be working till 9 p.m. You
Mhm.
need to just keep going because it's compounding, and it's so right.
Yes, and there's, so we get a dream, we get a vision, there's this thing we're going for, and it doesn't mean that it all happens magically.
Mhm.
It's like we have to show up and do the reps. It's all
Sometimes it
like
does.
muscle. Well, yes, there is some, but it's not magic on its own.
No, no.
It's not magic on its own because, it's one thing, like I tell people, you have to have a vision. Yes, you have to have a vision, but then you have to take some steps. Jim Carrey said, you can't just have a vision and eat a sandwich and hope that it's all going to come true, right? It
True.
doesn't happen like that. There are things you have to do. There are choices you have to make, and there's ways you have to be in it. And it is like going to the gym every day, showing up for life and saying, I am the person who's doing this. As far as the people who get stuck with it, I mean, you actually gave a key in the way you express that. How am I going to do this? How am I going to get there? Our results are created by the way we are interacting with the questions that we're entertaining. And so when we're entertaining a question of how am I going to do this? How am I going to pay the mortgage this month? How am I going to pay the car payment this month? How am I going to put food on the table? Those are very contractive questions. So how? It actually shrinks a person down and bottles them up and makes them feel more fear because that's what they're creating. And yet it could be just as simple and takes just as little energy to ask a question, well, how could I make an extra $10,000 this month? How could I make an extra $10,000 this month? And then your mind starts going to work on solutions to help you do that, and the universe responds.
That's right. Step by step by step. That's it. You got to take action. And it's like kind of like I got somebody that's near and dear to me. I love him to death. But every time I'm like, hey man, when are you gonna start taking care of your physical self, right? Your body. Like when you like your body is reacting. You had heart problems, you got diabetes, you got this, you got that. Like when are you gonna start taking care of this and eating right and moving and exercising? I'm going to start on Monday as he eats a piece of cake and 3 plates of spaghetti. I'm going to start on Monday. What advice do you have for our listeners that need a nudge towards change and are uncertain about their next step? Like, what immediate action can they take to begin living that vision driven life? Put those plates of pasta aside, whatever that, and that's metaphorical plates of pasta, metaphorical cake. What can they do to get out of that comfort zone and really move towards that purpose driven life?
Again, this may sound a little counterintuitive or counter. I mean, it's a great question and counter to like, well, you do a thing right here. Well, it's first of all, have a clear vision. Have a clear vision. I shared the story with you the other day about the man who went to the bank to cash his check and he couldn't cash his check because he didn't have a signature on it, right? Didn't have a signature on the back of the check. So he goes to this teller. They get into this argument. Teller says, you're going to have to go somewhere else. Goes to a second bank, tries the same thing, says, guy says, would you just sign the check? And get into the same discussion, same argument, and he walks away, goes to a third bank, goes into a third bank, same discussion, same argument. Third teller says, pulls a rubber bat, he gets sick to death of him, pulls a rubber bat out from the cage and bops him on the head, says, sign your darn check. And so he startled, he signs his check and he gets his cash. He goes back to the first bank and he's like, I can't believe it. Down the street, they gave me my money. Or you see down the street, they gave me my money. And the first teller says, well, yeah, but I'm sure down the street you had to sign the check. And the truth is, he said, well, yeah, but nobody explained it to me that way. And the thing is about that story is that it has significance to each of us because we don't want to sign our name to the check. We don't want to give clarity to the vision. So for the person who's overweight, for example, don't worry about losing weight. What is your perfect weight? And what would you be doing with your perfect weight? How would you be carrying yourself in the world in your perfect weight? And start putting that on in your mind so that as you move forward, you're like, well, is this cake serving me?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I'm literally writing this down so I can help that person that I love. And And hopefully that makes a really big impact. I think it will. And it's just putting it down to bite size, no pun intended, but
Right.
really, I mean, I think we all know people who are struggling with these things, whether it's weight, whether it's, like physical or mental or spiritual things, like really. And if they're struggling with it, I hope that this segment of our episode of the Wealth Architect really helped them out and at least started their curiosity into that journey. And I would tell you, if you're listening to this and you want to learn more about this fantastic gentleman in front of us, I would say go ahead and Google Benjamin Blackett. And he's the founder of a creative healing place. You can connect with him on social media. You can find him on our social media pages as well. Go ahead and follow him and see what Benjamin has to say and connect with him and ask him some questions. He's approachable. He's a best-selling author, but again, yeah, approachable and will help you out. Benjamin, thank you so much.
Honor and privilege. Pleasure to be here with you, Amelia. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for the
You're
invitation.
welcome. Pleasure to have you here. And I hope that we were able to connect you to even a small portion of that million people goal that you have to reach. That's great. You're not going to want to miss our next guest, and it's Tatiana Pimentel. She's a licensed real estate advisor. She's been doing this for about 10 years, almost a decade, and she has assisted numerous investors, whether they're just starting out or they're further along in their journey. And what she does is she creates plans in place tailored for that person to create massive long-term wealth and passive income on a month-to-month basis. So it's all about appreciating assets. It's all about really leveraging debt to create income, again, long-term and short-term. And we're going to go ahead and talk with her. Stay tuned. She'll be right on. A special thank you to our sponsor, Annie Mac Home Mortgage, whose Cash to Keys product is disrupting the industry. Sick and tired of finding the perfect home, not having your offer selected? I got to tell you, it happens all the time. With Cash to Keys, Annie Mac gives sellers a cash guarantee for each of their buyers' offers. Stop bidding and hoping. Instead, bid with Annie Mac and bid with confidence. Don't just bid, but win. Annie Mac Mortgage. Have you ever heard of upfront underwriting? Well, I haven't until I started working with Movement Mortgage. Movement Mortgage is one of the top loan originators around the country. Specifically, I want to give a thank you to Matt Bates. And if you're lucky enough to live in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, or New Hampshire, I strongly suggest you contact Matt Bates at rimortgageguy.com. Again, rimortgageguy.com. And he's going to help you to find that dream home. He does upfront underwriting, which means they fully approve you for a mortgage before you even place offers, increasing your chances of winning that dream home. rimortgageguy.com. We're here with Tatiana Pimentel. She's a licensed real estate advisor. She's been doing this for about 10 years. And Tatiana has rose through the ranks in sales and success and also is a really great advisor for her clients that are interested in building wealth, whether it's short-term or long-term, whether it's monthly passive income, or they're looking for a legacy type of portfolio to leave their children. So this is something that is on a lot of entrepreneurs' minds. You have your businesses, you have your stock portfolio, but what about your real estate portfolio? It's important. And we're going to talk about how to build one of those today. And according to the IRS, over 90% of millionaires have built their wealth through real estate, which is pretty wild. And if you look around and see the people that are successful, a lot of them, if you're measuring this by financial, a lot of them have passive income coming in so that they can really focus on things that matter most. And this is what we're talking about here on The Wealth Architect. And that's family and that's friends and that's living a life that is purpose driven. So I'm excited to have Tatiana Pimentel here with us today. Tatiana, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
You're welcome. Yeah, good to have you. So, Tatiana, just so people have a little bit of a background, you started in real estate almost a decade, 8 years ago. What made you want to what made you want to work with investors versus the typical, home buyers or sellers?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's so interesting because selfishly, I wanted to learn from myself,
Oh,
and I started to immerse myself around investors and real estate groups early on. When I became an agent, I remember my first two clients wanted a house hack, right? And I was like, absolutely. had no idea what house hacking meant.
Hmm.
So I went and I found an investor group in the area and just began to immerse myself in that space. And the more and more I met people and learned about their journeys and the different ways in which they were able to create wealth for themselves and their families was just, that was it. That was the hook.
So there's actually a pretty low barrier of entry into investing, you know.
There is. In fact, my first few years, my specialty was working with newer investors who were going to be occupying a primary residence and have some rental income from some of the other units. And a lot of those individuals, were later on we were able to scale and get them into other properties and other strategies for their portfolios, which was awesome.
That's fantastic. And you mentioned house hacking a little bit ahead of time. So look, we're gonna start this right, kind of almost from the basics, okay? And we may have people that are listening, like, yeah, I know this stuff, but hang tight because there might be something in here that they might learn or they may be able to use or share with somebody else. And then we're gonna get a little bit more advanced, okay? So somebody that wants to house hack, can you explain what house hacking is?
Absolutely. So house hacking is someone who is going to be using a owner occupied type loan, typically 3.5%, 5% down.
Hmm.
This way they're leveraging, right, that property to get their foot in the door. And typically at a minimum, you need 2 units. So, a duplex,
Hmm.
but it goes up to 4 units. So that for a lot of investors who don't have the capital, to, go in typically 25% or more, it's a great way to get your foot in the door.
That's right. I mean, think about it like this. House hackers, right? You're going in and you have very limited down payment money. You have very limited money you're putting out on the line. Your typical investment is about 20 to 25% that you have to put down on a house. So this is literally the only time that you can get an investment property for so little to no money down. And the dividends that's going to pay you over the years is intense. And I think that when you look at it from that lens, right, Tatiana, when your investors looked at it from that lens, like I only have to put 3.5% down and I can buy a 4 family. They've then leveraged that because you only have to live in the property, I think it's a year, 6 months, check with your lender. You can then move out of that property and you can go buy another property. And now you're building your portfolio of investment properties.
Yeah. In fact, there's a term, 3-2-1, where you'd start off with a triplex. You do what you have to do there for a little bit, then go into a duplex, and then go into your single primary residence. It's a thing. And it's very interesting to see how the people that do take advantage of it, to see them scale.
Yeah.
My favorite was when I get to see really young investors, get their foot in the door with what little they have,
Hmm.
and to see them scale over the course of at least even my career, right? Almost, 9 years, to see so many of them grow has been absolutely incredible.
It's awesome. I have one client, we're actually going to be featuring him in the future. His name's Greg Rice. And so Greg started house hacking. I remember this. It was 2015. He bought his first 4 unit, okay, FHA financing. That's 3.5% down. He now owns a portfolio of over 150 units. He's 34 years old. So literally in 10 years, he went from owning his first 4 family, house hacked, moved out of that and kept building and building and building up. And he's building an empire. Okay. And I mean, that's somebody, that's exactly who Tatiana and I are talking about right here, is like somebody like that. So if you want to build a portfolio, whether it's 4 units or 400 units or 4,000 units, it's all possible. And there's ways to do it. And there's ways to leverage. I've been seeing a lot of people do this. Okay. And every marketplace is different depending on availability of land and zoning laws and this or that. But zoning laws in cities have been easing up over the past couple of years because the lack of availability of new homes being built. So what we're seeing is, we call these grandma lots. Older ladies or older people, like older men, like they own these properties and it's like a 2 family or a 4 family or even a single family that's on a double lot for the area. And investors are going in and they're purchasing that multifamily or that single family or whatever it is. And then they're subdividing, they're creating a lot, and then they're building right on that lot. And the amount of money you can make doing this is really unbelievable, especially if you're going to build a multifamily on the extra lot, hold it, and add that to your portfolio. Have you seen people doing that too?
I have,
Yeah.
and it's wild to see. Well, to your point, right? Because of the lack of inventory and of properties, the particular zoning, right, it has kind of really loosened up,
Hmm.
right? It's boundaries and guidelines around what they can and cannot do, and what that's doing for the savvy investors. It's literally putting more money in their pocket and their portfolios by finding these, and going all in on these, right? New
Hmm.
construction, right? That's been huge. Wherever you can find, an opportunity,
Sure.
it's wild these days.
ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, are huge too, like Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and I know, I'm sure in other countries, I don't know the laws in the other countries in other states, but I'm sure that populated states are really making headway to allow people to go in and put things like auxiliary dwelling units into properties to maximize the housing that they can offer their local marketplaces. And basically, if you haven't heard of an ADU, what it is basically an in-law unit. As long as it's safe and people can exit, come in and out, has egress. You pull permits for plumbing, for electrical, and it passes fire code. A lot of times, you can put these in attics. You could put these in basements. You can build a structure in your backyard. It's huge. It's a huge movement, and it's allowing more housing stock to hit the marketplace. So for investors, like when you find properties where you can add these units, there's a lot of upside there for you.
Right. And a lot of what I've at least seen is, even with a lot of the new construction, they're making, they're going in, not just creating the, let's say, the duplex or the triplex, but they're going in there and they're also kind of prepping the space for a future
Mm.
accessory dwelling unit.
Mm. Yeah, that's right. They are. And I've been seeing more and more of that too. Tatiana, over the past couple of years, we've been seeing a rise in the debt service recovery loans, right? Have your clients been taking advantage of this? I've had a lot of clients use this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the DSCR loans, they've been super popular amongst the investor community. Part of it is just because it's so easy.
Well, let's talk first off, let's tell our listeners like why this type of loan is different and really like who this loan would be good for.
So typically, this loan is for someone who has the 25% or so to put down. It's in essence, it's a no, not no doc, but they're not going to be using the individual's
Income.
income,
Yeah.
right, for this property. There, it's going to be based on the property, how it's producing, and as long as you have the 25%, some decent credit, and that the property itself is cash flowing,
Mhm.
it's a pretty straightforward product.
And it can be a near break even on the cash flow, by the way. So basically, and again, I'm not a loan officer, so I'm going to explain this the best way I can, right? How I hear them explain it is, let's say you're going to purchase a property and the expenses with the mortgage, insurance, taxes, and principal, right, come up to 10,000 a month. As long as that property is producing income of $10,000 per month, they're going to go ahead and pass that, and you're going to be able to purchase that property, which is pretty impressive. And we see people use these up to 6 units. So you can go buy a commercial. They call them commercial after 5+ units is commercial. So you can go buy a commercial property with this and start building your portfolio. I love the commercial space, Tatiana. I love the 5+ units because there are fewer people in that space, right? Like if you're looking at multifamilies, whatever market you're in, 2 to 4 units, it's crowded because you got a lot of owner occupied people going in using those programs you were talking about earlier, 3.5% down, 5% down. It's such a low threshold to get in. So the prices per unit are actually higher, and you're not going to collect the same amount of profit margin as you would if you're buying commercial units. Now, in the commercial sector, again, with such fewer buyers that are going in and purchasing these, that's where the deals are at right now. And I got to tell you, this is happening all over the country. I heard them talking about it on Bigger Pockets, right? And I think it's somewhere between 5 and 24 units is really the hot spot right now. So if you can get in and you can purchase those commercial units, especially if you can, buy up to 6 using the debt service recovery loans, you're going to be putting yourself in a really good place. Tatiana, you were talking about people that don't have to present or show their income, right? Like that's probably something that works out really well for entrepreneurs, for business people, right?
100%. In fact, a lot of the small business owners, because can't go the traditional route for financing, this is a tool, a product they can use to really get their foot in the door, because
Yeah.
they may have the finances, but it may not flow, the way the traditional lending guidelines would like it to be. But this program is such a wonderful tool for those individuals.
Yeah, I agree with that. And over the years, building that real estate portfolio is like, it's one of the best things you can do because look at it like this, like, regardless, I don't care what the market is, I don't care what the rates are. Historically, over time, real estate has been the safest bet and is the best way to hedge against any kind of like recession or issues with your income, because it just gives back every single month. I mean, you're looking at anywhere from 7 to 12% of returns annually. Like that's huge. So make sure if you're out there and you're looking that you're linking up with somebody that understands that space, right? Like you're not going to want to go hire somebody that specializes in single family homes. You want to work with a whole team that deals with investors and really put that like a whole situation together for you. You need a property manager, you're needing contractors, you're needing attorneys, you're needing, a whole slew of people to get this done, but it's possible. And once you get started, it's actually fairly easy.
It is. It is. And once you get started, you're not going to want to stop.
No.
Yeah.
No way. I mean, there's it's endless to what you could do. I know some people, young people, they own 2,000 plus units.
Yeah.
I mean, they're printing money. They're making $600,000-700,000 a month. Like, imagine that.
It's wild. It's wild. And one of the biggest things I will add too is, the power of not just the professionals you're working with, but the power of your network. When I started to get into the space, going to the local REIAs, and they're nationwide.
What's a REIA?
So it's a real estate investor association.
Okay.
And they're nationwide. I find myself on vacation and I'll go to a meetup.
Oh wow.
So it's pretty awesome to have made these connections, across the nation, where you can make connections, you can find opportunities that you may not find locally in your market too.
I love that. And also in your local market too, if you can become a part of a BNI, a Business Networking International, those groups are absolutely powerful, especially if you get into the right group. Okay. And it's usually about 30 or 40 professionals. You've got attorneys in there, you have property managers, you have realtors in there. I mean, you have some people that are taking their business very serious, and you can get the right kind of guidance and build a wonderful network there. So make sure you link up with us, follow us on all the social media channels, send us a message if you need us to link you up with a professional in your marketplace. We're happy to do that. Do you live in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, and you're thinking about moving? Well, the worst thing you can do is ask your friends to come help you, because then guess what? You owe them a favor. Never mind, you're going to be spending a ton of money on beer and pizza, and stuff is going to get broken. It sucks. Call our friends GMET's Moving and Storage. They're going to be able to move you, especially in this marketplace, but they can actually ship your stuff around the world and move you with their crew of dedicated professionals anywhere in the United States. Go ahead and Google GMET's Moving and Storage, and they'll help you out today. You're going to want to stay tuned, because the gentleman I was talking about earlier on that built his portfolio from 4 to 154 units, Greg Rice, is going to be here with us. He's the VP of Nexus Property Management, and he's going to be here with us talking about how to build wealth through sustainable wealth through real estate. And also we have the #1 real estate agent, according to the Wall Street Journal, for several years in a row, Kyle Seabith. He's actually a Rhode Island native, so I actually got to know him pretty well over the years. And he's just a powerhouse in the real estate market. And you're going to want to hear how he does this and accumulates the wealth that he does as well. Stay tuned next week. We're going to have a bang up show. Great show. I'd like to thank everybody behind the scenes that makes this happen, our guests, and you, our listeners. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll be back next week here on The Wealth Architect. Thank you. God bless.